I welcome everybody to the hearing, which seeks to examine strategies the federal government can adopt to better address improper payments. Federal government manages and allocates trillions of dollars each year to programs that help individuals, families, and businesses, but that money does not always go where Congress intends. For fiscal year 2021, 86 high-risk federal programs estimated improper payments. That translates into $281 billion, more than any other fiscal year since 2003.
The pandemic laid bare the sorry state of fraud prevention and program integrity at all levels of our government. And to be very honest, this is true of Democratic administrations, and it's also true of Republican administrations. But something has to change. But it's not enough just to talk about a problem. We've got to take action. And the reality is that agencies don't share data. Agencies don't have access to data in many instances.
Good quality data and the modern IT infrastructure that can support its collection, sharing, and analysis are foundational to tackling improper payments. Data is key to reducing paperwork errors and fraud without putting a burden on the public. Today's hearing examines the causes of those improper payments and explores solutions for reducing them. Let me now introduce our witnesses. Adrian, you are recognized. Mr. Adrian Haro.
Good morning, Chairman Connolly, Ranking Member Hice, and all members of this Subcommittee on Government Operations. My name is Adrian Haro, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of an organization called the Workers Lab. Thank you for the opportunity to share how our work is contributing to the important enterprise of tackling improper payments. So many of the ways that we serve and take care of workers in this country are outdated and exclusive. So we need new ideas about how to better serve more and every kind of worker in this country. That's why at the Workers Lab, we are on a mission to give new ideas for and with workers a chance to succeed. Over the last year, one of those ideas has been about how automating the process of verifying income in the administration of unemployment benefits could both increase the efficiency of the system and make it more equitable and accessible for non-traditional gig and contract workers that have historically been excluded. And what we're learning is that automating income verification in the administration of unemployment benefits can be a win for gig workers in that it can make the process of applying for unemployment benefits faster and more user-friendly, and a win for government in that it can increase the efficiency of the process and allow for better service delivery to its constituents. Our learning journey started at the beginning of the pandemic when, for the first time ever, gig workers were made eligible for unemployment benefits. A tremendous and novel achievement, but one that presented many administrative challenges for states all across the country. An estimated 57.3 million Americans generate income from gig work, which represents 35% of the US workforce and is expected to grow to 50% by 2025. One of the biggest challenges for states was how to make sense of and verify income from gig work, which can often be generated from multiple sources at multiple times, sometimes even within the same day. Our unemployment system was simply not designed to verify income that looks like this. So we brought gig workers together with Steady, a platform that helps gig workers track, understand, and optimize their income, to develop what we call an income passport to help fix this problem. At the Workers Lab, we believe deeply in user-centered design and that any innovation for workers should be done in partnership with workers. The income passport automates an otherwise manual process for verifying income and unemployment benefits applications. Rather than relying on the often complex and sprawling paper trail that documents income generated from gig work, it instead pulls that income data directly from trusted financial sources. We tested the income passport with hundreds of workers in Alabama and Louisiana to demonstrate that automating income verification can make the process of administering unemployment benefits easier and more efficient for government staff and gig workers. Here's what we're learning about how automating the process of verifying income can help mitigate improper payments. First, the income passport reduces the potential for fraud. Because the solution safely and securely pulls income data directly from trusted sources and then transmits that income data directly to the state, it leaves very little room for fraudulent activity. Initial findings show that of applicants that chose not to use the passport, 90% of them were likely bad actors. Second, the income passport increases accuracy in the determination of benefit amounts for the state in that it has access to a trusted and tailored record of income generated from gig work, and for gig workers in that they have unprecedented access to see past income from multiple sources and thus more control over how their income is reported. Third, the income passport optimizes efficiency for states in that it automates an otherwise manual process, reducing the potential for human error, reducing processing time from as much as half an hour to 1 to 2 minutes, and allowing for benefits payouts in less than 24 hours. And for workers in that it simplifies the daunting task of organizing income from gig work, thus enhancing the quality of the data submitted to the state. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we're learning that the income passport holds promise beyond temporary pandemic assistance programs to automate the verification of income from gig work across the entire menu of public benefits programs in states all around the country. The federal government can do 3 things to help states make this happen. First, it should use its resources to evaluate potential technology solutions and support states that want to test them, providing funding and advice so that states can take advantage of innovation. Second, it can also establish policy guidelines and requirements across federal agencies that incentivize states to adopt more innovative, worker-centered technologies. And third, it can share best practices and successful technologies across states and help solutions be adopted at scale through funding and other incentives. And of course, the Workers Lab stands ready and willing to help. Thank you again for this opportunity, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. And Adrian, in your project on helping gig workers receive unemployment benefits, did you see an actual increase in people's access to the benefits? And did you see improper payments go down?
Yes and yes.
How do you make sure that the projects you're investing in are sustainable and effective in the long term?
It's a great question, Congressman. Thank you. So really quickly, we follow the data. And in the case of gig work and this project, the data show that there will be growth in this part of the economy, right? But we also know that these workers have very little access to public benefits programs because of challenges like verification of their income. So we stood up this project to help, both in the crisis moment, but also over the long haul. And as I mentioned in my testimony, the income passport holds promise beyond the temporary pandemic assistance programs, right? To automate income across the entire menu of public benefits. That's everything from SNAP to Medicaid to TANF to CHIP, right? We could take the Medicaid example really quickly and just say, unlike unemployment benefits in which eligibility is tied to work status and dependent on employers paying in on behalf of workers, and where gig workers do not currently qualify for the most part, Medicaid, on the other hand, is largely dependent on income level, not work status. So all forms of non-traditional income, 1099, self-employment, et cetera, count towards the threshold for eligibility. So we need a better and more efficient way to verify this kind of income in these types of programs so that qualified people are getting the benefits they are legally entitled to, no more, no less.
Policymakers often talk about the trade-offs between fighting fraud and expanding access to programs. They say we can do one or the other, but not both. But when done right, governments can design programs to prevent improper payments and fulfill customer needs. Adrian, our witness from the Workers Lab, stated that government and the people it serves can both win. In the past, the government has been way too slow to adopt new technologies to streamline government operations, make it easier to administer programs, and prevent fraud. Mr. Jenson, can you provide an example of how technology can help the government reduce fraud while also providing benefits to those who qualify?
Sure. Thanks for the question. I want to, I'd like to congratulate Adrian on the solution they came up with, because that's exactly the kind of thing that needs to be done. For example, I mentioned this earlier, but to verify income for the PUA program, we were able to configure a way on the cloud where both the Labor Department and the Tax Department could say with a straight face that PII was not being shared between the two, so that both departments could be safe just in terms of not having any data breaches in that context. It worked great. So what we need to do is prioritize the kind of performance metrics that require both a fraud detection and service delivery, and it can be done.
Ms. Gressler, the pandemic relief funds were disproportionately susceptible to fraud and abuse, which many of my Republican colleagues had predicted prior to their passage. However, fraud and overpayments have been a consistent problem in other federal programs for years. In your testimony, you used the Earned Income Tax Credit as one example. You talked about possible actions the administration could take, but what legislative actions have been taken in the past or could be taken now to mitigate these issues?
Yes, so specifically dealing with the Earned Income Tax Credit, so that's where it gets difficult, and this is not an easy thing to design a government program and to get the benefits to the people you need when those needs get more specific in terms of what you want. And then also the income that's coming in, and not all the time is that income going to be on a W-2 statement. As Adrian mentioned, we have more than a third of the workforce now that are working independently in these flexible type jobs, and having to gather all of that information and to submit it is difficult. And that's where we hear, people don't get the benefits that they may be entitled to because it's a cumbersome process, and oftentimes it's the people who need them most who find it the most difficult to do that, and it's the criminals who understand the system who can get access to the benefits easiest.
If there's nothing else to come before us, we are adjourned. I thank our witnesses.